Welcome to the weekend. I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Well, remember what I've said over and over again. Caldara's political axiom number one: there is nothing Republicans cannot F up. I used the real word before, but the boss here got all upset. Go figure. Chuck Plunkett from the Denver Post, who I explained this axiom to you
several months ago.
Several months ago. So it's not like I'm making this up now.
Right. No, that's 100% true.
100% true.
And you used the full vulgarity, and it was much better.
It is. Actually, I've been saying this now for a decade, and representing the Republican Party. No. Ryan Call, who is the Denver chairman of Denver County Republican. You also do some legal work for the Republican Party, but let's make it clear. You're not here on behalf of the Republican Party.
That's right. I'm here in my personal capacity, but I am speaking to a degree as the chairman of the Denver Republican Party, one of the local organizations. But as it relates to my work representing a lot of different candidates at our law firm, I'm here in that kind of individual capacity.
All right, so let's put it out on the table. Let me try it this way. Einstein had his theory, special theory relatively, in 1909, but I think it was 1918 when there was finally a full eclipse of the sun, or sometime in the 20s, I forget. And they looked at Mercury, and lo and behold, it was in the wrong place because of the gravitational pull. And his theory was proven. My theory that there's nothing Republicans can't F up has now been proved fully this election season.
So
am I wrong?
Good as Einstein.
I am better than Einstein.
I think you're being a little bit unfair, John. I mean, I understand that a lot of the attention right now is being focused on the governor's race, but you're neglecting a lot of the good things that are happening within the Republican Party in terms of other candidates at lower level and other races. And the Senate race, I know that there's a lot of heat on that one as well right now. And as folks are watching this, they're probably looking at that ballot on the kitchen table, wondering how they're going to vote. But we've got a couple of terrific Senate candidates for the U.S. Senate. So I know a lot of attention's looking at the governor's race, but you got to look past that, deeper in the bench.
All right, let's talk about the obvious one, though. All right, this governor's race has been a full-born implosion. I mean, this wasn't 3 Mile Island. I think this is closer to Chernobyl, and it's been so poorly handled by the candidates. The only person that comes out smelling great is Hickenlooper. So let's jump into it. Tancredo gave the ultimatum. You knew that Dan Mays and Scott McGinnis weren't going to budge. There was no question. There was no face-saving way for them to get out of this. What happens?
What happens?
What happens?
Well, Tancredo gets in and he fights, and it will split the vote, and Hickenlooper walks away. It will be a coronation.
It is a coronation. When Tancredo says, I can win this race in a three-way race, or I have, to be more specific, I have a better chance of winning in a three-way race than McGinnis does in a two-way race, is that possible?
Absolutely not. I mean, the reality is that the 30-party races, I mean, even with a strong kind of personality, just have not demonstrated to work. And the reality is that, look, this is all, in all seriousness, Tancredo served honorably in Congress. He was a Republican legislator. He was a Republican congressman. But he left that, and I'll tell you, when you leave the person that brought you to the dance, that doesn't sit well with Colorado Republicans, and it certainly doesn't sit well with a lot of the people that within the Tea Party movement that he's been telling for the last 6 months or longer, you need to work through the process. Tom Tancredo has decided to basically show the middle finger to the process and step outside of it, go around it. And
but can he argue that we're just trying to get somebody better than McGinnis, that he is forcing a hand that needed to be forced and nobody else was doing it? And if McGinnis stepped down and somebody else went in there, Tom said he would step aside, and I take him at his word on that. I don't think he would refuse to do so.
Well, he didn't allow that process to play itself out. I mean, the reality is that he was very premature. I mean, the primary election ballot is going on right now. Republicans in the state of Colorado have to have their say first, and Tom hasn't given them the opportunity to weigh in on this race first. I think it's really premature to take this kind of a position to say that Republicans don't have a shot or that the election is all completely over. It's July, for goodness sake. And not one hand has been laid yet on Hickenlooper, who is a profoundly flawed candidate, both on policy as well as personality. And I think as people start paying attention to those aspects with respect to the Democrat in the race, this race is far from being decided.
Let's take it from the beginning. The primary right now, Dan Mays, Scott McGinnis. Can all three of us agree that Dan Mays really doesn't have a shot in winning the primary? Let's talk about the primary first. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, I know that he attracted the support of the activist in the state assembly, but I just don't feel like he's got the momentum, and he doesn't seem like a very serious candidate. And the people that I talk to who are strong Republicans also share that view. I don't in any way see him carrying the show.
Dan's an incredible guy. I think he's done remarkably well to this point, but he's got no political experience. I think he sings well to the extreme of the party, and that's terrific. That includes me. But I don't think he's going to be able to carry the rest of the party. I'm asking you, does he have a shot of winning, all things being equal, even the primary?
Well, in all honesty, John, I mean, in my capacity with the Republican Party in Denver, I've got to make sure that our voters are the ones that decide that question. And so I'm
asking you to predict, though. Would those voters elect this?
My prediction is that, frankly, that Scott McGinnis is likely to be our party's nominee moving into the general election. And I think that he has a long record of service. And every time you put somebody on the microscope, especially with so many years of public involvement and public life that Scott McGinnis has done, I think that the criticisms are profoundly unfair and pretty limited. Yeah, you know, the issues with respect to the plagiarism and things like that. But the reality is you got to look at that in the longer view. And I think that as the campaign plays itself out, there'll be a very clear contrast.
So go ahead.
I think the criticisms of Scott McGinnis are warranted. I don't think they've been overplayed at all. Yes, he's been in Congress for a long time, and he was a reliable conservative. I could see why Republicans would rally behind him. And I'll point out that up until the plagiarism scandal broke, I was starting to think that he really did have an awfully good shot at it. When we first heard that Hickenlooper was running, you were nice enough to have me on the show, and I thought he had really good chances, that he would really appeal to Colorado's independent voters, that Republicans would like him as well because he's entrepreneurial and all those kinds of good things. But poll after poll kept showing McGinnis substantially ahead. I mean, a significant margin. So,
and that's what gets back to Caldara's political axiom number one. This is our year. There is no other year like this. The stars are aligned. There's nothing that could stop us except ourselves, and that's exactly what happened this year. I've always been concerned about Scott. I think he'd be a fine governor, but he has a temper. He, like most politicians, has an ego. And when you've heard him on Caplis and Silverman talking about his donations, when I knew that we all knew that there would be something that popped up during this campaign. I never thought it would be a charge of plagiarism. Let's take it to the next step. Let's assume that Tancredo's gone. He's not there. It's just a good old-fashioned race between Hickenlooper, McGinnis. After all the stuff on the plagiarism charge, does McGinnis really have a shot?
I hope not. I hope that the voters would not honor someone that got paid that much money to plagiarize. It's just not honorable. And when you add up the other questionable ethical situations in his background, putting his wife on a paid position for nearly $40,000 for running a campaign that no longer existed. It's just a way to funnel money from his good donors to his own pocketbook. Things like that. And when you throw in that he's mercurial, he has a weird sense of timing and gets angry at the wrong moments, that he would not be a good candidate, and Coloradans would rally behind him, the more sensible John Hickenlooper.